Good Erev Shabbos. This week we read from Parshas Chukosai. Chukosai begins with the words in Chukosai Telechu, which literally means you will walk with you will go with my decrees, you will go with my ordinances, you will go with my commandments. There's not an exact English word that captures the words of the Chukosai. Rashi quotes the Torah's Kohanim, the Midrashic the teachings of the Yikra, which debates what exactly the phrase of Imba Chukosai teaches us, and concludes that it ultimately means Sheteu Amelim Torah, that it means that the Jewish people should be toiling with the Torah, specifically with Torah study. Basically, the word Amelim, toiling, reflects this idea. It's not just a casual studying. It's not just this casual experience that we're supposed to have with Torah study, but rather it's supposed to be this intense experience. We're supposed to toil with it. That's what the concept of amelus means. But I think what I would like to explore further on this is if that's really the interpretation of Chukosai Telechu really means Sheteu Amelim Torah, that you shall toil with the Torah, you shall have an intense experience with Torah study. Why doesn't the Torah actually say that? It really does not convey that literally. It just says somewhat of a generic headline: you shall go with my commandments, go with my ordinances. And rabbinic and midrashic interpretation has a much more specific guidelines of what that means of toiling with the Torah. So there's this idea of in terms of growth in the Chukosai Telechu, what going means. And I just want to give another reference in the Torah. The last day of Moshe's life, Moshe was 120 years old. It says, "Vayelach Moshe." Moshe was going. Now, where in the world was he going? Where in the world was he going? It says, "Vayelach Moshe," he was going. And the answer is, the rabbis have taught us that a person always has to be growth-oriented. A person should never just be content to stand on their laurels and say, "Yes, I've achieved this. I've graduated from Hebrew school. I've been bar mitzvahed. I've achieved this." A person should always strive for greater, for greater plateaus. What you think is really beyond your reach is not necessarily so. And the more you toil, the more you study. This week in Pirkei Avos, you have the famous teaching of Ben Bagbag. Ben Bagbag was one of the sages, and why his name was Ben Bagbag is really a different conversation. But Ben Bagbag famously taught us the kulaba. Continue to delve in it and continue to delve in it, for everything is in it. For everything is in it. And Torah study is a person has to continue going in it and going in it and going at it and going at it and going. It's a constant journey. Moshe Rabbeinu, the last day of his life, he was still in Vayelach mode. He was never resting. He was still going. He was still going, and that's what Imba Chukosai Telechu conveys to us. You know how we will achieve a Sheteu Amelim Torah. A person should toil in the Torah if he's in the Chukosai Telechu mode. He's in the going mode. In fact, the word halacha, if you think about it, the shorish of the word, the root word of halacha is lech, to go. A Jewish law is not just stationary. It's not just stationary laws, just books on the shelf. Rather, it's an active part of life. We're always supposed to be going with it, traveling with it. It's very dynamic. And that's our message as we get closer and closer to reliving the experience on Shavuos at Mount Sinai, which we will God willing get to next week. I wish you all good Erev Shabbos.